what a wonderful day we are having catching shallow. We've been filming for Dyanmite Baits today. We've been looking at some different tactics, and the day has turned into an absolute beauty. We're catching one of these lovely F1s every single time we drop in. We've got enough of those, we don't need any more. And the session started off with us catching some fish on the bottom, but now in this swim that's probably about 4.5 to 5 foot deep, it's all about shallow fishing. So I thought, while we're catching a few shallow, we'll get Ian to hold the camera and we could talk through a little shallow session for you guys, because we're doing something a little bit different to how many people would probably target these fish shallow. I've got a big tub of maggots on my side tray. I've not fed a single one today, and most of the time, I mean, these are beauty fish. He's a little sort of ghost F1, fantastic fish. Most of the time you go to a venue and people talk about catching F1 shallow, it's pellets, it's maggots, maybe casters, and you're getting through maybe 3-4 pints of bait minimum. But today it's been all about sloppy balls of ground bait, and I mixed up a bag of green swim stim at the start of the session, and that was my bait for fishing on the bottom. But as it was really apparent that these fish wanted to feed shallow, I've ended up just over wetting the ground bait, adding a lot more water to the ground bait, making it into a really nice slop, and throwing little sloppy balls of ground bait in. You can see he's doing the trick. It's absolutely fantastic fishing. Every fish is a quality fish as well. Right, get in here so we can have a look at the ground bait and the rigs, because I think this is important. How's your knees, all right?
Yeah, not bad.
Not bad, right. Go on, see how your knees will get up. You'll be able to get up. Right, so this is my sloppy ground bait. This is what I'm chucking in at the moment, and this is my starting mix. So if I was fishing on the bottom, you can see I mixed up my ground bait, squeeze into a ball nicely, it gets to the bottom, it breaks up beautifully. But for fishing shallow, we want a nice cloud that's going to hang in the water. We want it to splat on the water surface. So just by over wetting it, because swim stim green is a sort of spongy mix, it's not clagging, it goes into this beautiful sort of sloppy pasty mix, which is beautiful for this style of fishing. And if we go in if you get down there, chuck a ball in, you can see how it hangs in the water fantastically, which is all we want. And at times today, even though it's still pretty early on in the season, we've had fish swirling in the cloud. They've really wanted it. It's been brilliant. So that's my feed. Literally got single or double maggot as a hook bait. Really, really simple stuff. Now, you've just seen me, I've been catching really well on a jigger. A jigger is a brilliant way of catching fish. What I find the downside of a jigger is reading the swim, actually finding the correct depth to put your jigger at, because fishing a jigger, it's all about setting your jigger and fishing in a window. So in a minute, I'm fishing in a window of probably 10 to 14 inches deep, because that's where I'm getting all my bites and that's where I'm getting my indications. But without actually fishing with a proper float to start with, you can't really read your swim. So I've made sure that I've started fishing shallow with a proper float as well. And this is where we ended up. So little inline dibber. Obviously when you're fishing with a really short line between pole tip and float and a really short rig, a little inline float means that you get far less tangles, everything's more direct, you hit more bites as a result of that. And we were fishing this rig, catching a fish every single time we slapped the rig over. Every single drop in we were catching a fish. But we just felt that maybe we could increase the speed a little bit. That's when we go to the jigger, because this rig was working really well, but we foul hooked a couple of fish. We felt that maybe the fish were coming just that little bit shallower than this rig. I'm going to keep feeding. And you can see here that with this jigger, as I say, we're working this jigger probably around that depth there. So anything from in that area of this rig, we're working this jigger. And we were probably fishing this rig 3, 4, 5 inches too deep. And you might say, well, why don't you just pick up another version of this rig and fish it in that depth of water, maybe a slightly shallower rig. That's going to work just as well, I think. And in actual fact, when you get away with fishing overshotted rigs, some venues don't allow it. I think you've got to suck it and see on each day. Sometimes the jigger works, sometimes the overshotted rig works. I mean, sometimes just the length of line works with a couple of shot down there, and it's super direct, elastic. But I do like the idea of having different rigs set up for different occasions. So let's go have a quick go, see if we can catch any more on this slightly deeper rig. Because for you guys that don't get out fishing F1 venues that often, or maybe trying to have a go on an F1 venue this year, there is certain ways of targeting these F1s and certain ways of presenting your rig, and it's a little bit different to how it's been done in the past. So one of the really important things to note is I'm by no means the super expert at this style of fishing. I've done it a lot over the years, but my style of fishing now, I get to do this maybe half a dozen times a year. Still catch plenty of fish doing it, as you can see, but there are some fantastic anglers out there who do this style of fishing all the time. But during other filming, other videos, especially that Lee Carey and I have shot when we do our Edge subscription channel, we've done some fantastic underwater stuff where we've got a camera set underwater watching these F1s feed and how they react to bait and how they react to different setups. And we all know that when you're F1 fishing, missed bites are a pain. I want to say a real pain. You miss more than you hit most of the time. And we found on our underwater footage, which was, you know, superb, really eye-opening, that this style of fishing is one of the best ways to minimalise your missed bites. And basically we're fishing with this float slightly overshotted, so it just sinks. We're fishing with a little short line between pole tip and float, and realistically the float is acting as sort of a stabiliser. So it's just stabilising the rig. We've got a little bit of a nasty skimming wind today, and if I didn't have that float on, I think the rig would just be skimming around a little bit too much. So it's just acting to stabilise the rig. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ship out. We're going to try not to get one. I'm going to ship out, slap my rig on the water a couple of times, and when the floats in the water, I'm just going to give it a little sharp 3-inch lift and let it sink down. Another little sharp 3-inch lift. And what that does is it makes a little bit of splash on the water surface. And also, a fish is probably, or we're hoping that a fish has picked up that bait, and we, like we did then, lift up into the fish. We're not looking to hit bites, we're just looking to almost do a little strike, foul hook that one, do a little strike into the fish. So we're not even looking at our float for an indication, we're just using the float, as I say, as a stabiliser. Classic example there of the fish being a little bit too shallow for this rig. when we foul hook that fish. A little bit more bait. Like I say, we've had today with the ground bait, fish have been swirling in that ground bait. It's been fantastic. So it's just a little tiny, short, sharp, little lift. So the float's overshotted, so in theory when we get a bite, everything's direct. It is a really great, it's a busy way of fishing as well. I love it, 'cause there's so many venues like this up and down the country now where F1s are the bulk of your catch. I mean, it used to be all carp fishing, didn't it, on commercials, but I think most places you go now, F1s are the really big percentage of what you're catching. So to be able to catch them and not just rely on a few late margin carp is really important. Like I say, we watched these fish feeding underwater. If you've not seen the video, it's on a members only channel. It's called The Edge. Type it into YouTube. You have to join the YouTube channel. So become a member, not just subscribe. You have to actually become a member and you'll see these F1s feeding underwater. And if you're thinking about visiting a commercial fishery this year, it's going to help you massively with your fishing. So you can see it's just a little lift of the pole tip. Pole tip goes maybe 2 inches under the water. Little lift. And gone are the days of striking constantly, missing bite after bite, slapping your rig over. I mean, that works on some venues, but when there's so many fish, this is the way, believe me. And obviously you can see it's working here. Every fish top lipped as well when you fish this style, because the fish isn't having time. When he approaches the bait, he's taking the bait in before he's had time to turn his head. The fish, you've hooked him already. So quite often they're all top lip jobs. What a lovely little shallow session. I'm going to carry on catching a few more fish. Why don't you head over to the Edge website or the Edge YouTube channel, click the membership button. There you can watch that amazing underwater F1 shallow video that Lee and I shot last year. Really, really opened our eyes. It's helped us catch loads more fish when it comes to this style of fishing. Thanks for watching.